The mop hit the floor with its usual wet slap. Daniel pushed it across the metal tiles, watching dirty water spread and then disappear into the cleaning solution. Third shift on the Galactic Academy station meant empty hallways and silence. Most students were asleep in their fancy dorms. The rich kids from 100 different worlds never noticed the humans who kept everything clean. Daniel liked it that way. Invisible meant safe. Invisible meant nobody bothered you. He rolled his cleaning cart past the main dormitory wing, heading toward the waste disposal sector. That was the worst area. Nobody wanted to clean there. The smell alone made most workers quit after one shift, but Daniel had been doing this for 3 years. You got used to anything if you needed the paycheck badly enough. The disposal sector sat at the bottom level of the station. Down here, the walls were bare metal instead of the decorated corridors above. No fancy lights or artwork, just harsh white bulbs and the constant hum of machines processing trash from thousands of alien students. Daniel pulled out his keycard and swiped it across the access panel. The heavy door slid open with a hiss. The smell hit him immediately. Rotten food, chemicals, and something else he could not identify. He grabbed his breather mask from the cart and fitted it over his nose and mouth. The mask helped but did not block everything. He stepped inside, letting the door close behind him. Daniel had a routine. Check the compactor controls first, make sure nothing was jammed. Then sweep the loading area, mop the floors, replace the waste bins. Simple work that nobody else wanted to do. He walked toward the main compactor, his boots echoing on the metal grating. That was when he heard it. A sound that did not belong, something between a wheeze and a groan. Daniel froze. The disposal sector was automated. Nothing living should be down here. He listened carefully. There it was again, definitely breathing, labored and painful. He moved toward the sound, passing between 2 large waste containers. The breathing got louder. Daniel rounded the corner and stopped dead. A body lay crumpled against the wall. Not human. Definitely not human. The creature was covered in dark red scales that looked almost black in the dim light. It had a long tail and wings folded against its back. A draconid, one of the dragon people who controlled half the known galaxy. Daniel's first instinct was to back away slowly and call security. Draconids were dangerous, powerful. They could burn you to ash with their flames. Getting involved with one was asking for trouble. He started to turn away. The creature's eyes opened. They were amber-colored and filled with pain and fear. Not the eyes of something dangerous, the eyes of something dying. The draconid tried to speak but only managed a wet cough. Blood, bright blue against the dark scales, dripped from its mouth. Daniel looked at the access door behind him. He could leave right now. Pretend he never saw anything. Go back to his cart and finish his shift. Nobody would blame him. This was not his problem. The draconid's eyes closed again. Its breathing became even more shallow. Daniel cursed under his breath and knelt down beside the creature. Up close, he could see the damage. Burns covered most of the scales. Deep gashes cut through the armor plating along the ribs. One wing looked broken, bent at an unnatural angle. This was not an accident. Someone had beaten this draconid badly and dumped it here to die. He pulled off his work gloves and carefully touched the creature's neck, feeling for a pulse. There, weak but steady. The draconid was young, he realized. Not much bigger than Daniel himself. Most adult draconids stood 8 or 9 feet tall. This one might be 6 feet at most. A juvenile. Daniel sat back on his heels, thinking. If he called security, they would contact the draconid embassy. The embassy would want to know how one of their people ended up in a trash compactor. There would be an investigation. Lots of questions. And something in his gut told Daniel this kid did not want to be found. You did not end up in a garbage disposal by accident. Someone put you there because they wanted you gone. He had seen that look before. Back on Redstone Colony where he grew up. Kids who ran away from bad homes. People who were unwanted and knew it. The look in those amber eyes was the same. Please don't send me back. Daniel made his decision. He stood up and walked quickly back to his cleaning cart. He grabbed the emergency medical kit from the bottom shelf. It was basic stuff: bandages, antiseptic, painkillers. Not nearly enough for injuries this severe, but it was a start. He returned to the Draconid and opened the kit. The creature's eyes opened again, watching him with confusion. Daniel met its gaze and spoke quietly. "I'm going to help you, but I need to move you somewhere safer. Can you stay quiet?" The Draconid stared at him like it did not understand why a human would help. Then it gave a tiny nod. Daniel looked around the disposal sector. There were maintenance tunnels behind the main compactor, old access ways that nobody used anymore. He had explored them during his first month on the job, mapping out the station's forgotten spaces. One of those tunnels led to an abandoned storage room. It would work as a hiding place, at least for now. He slipped his arms under the Draconid's shoulders and knees, trying to avoid the worst injuries. The creature was heavy, dense muscle and thick scales. Daniel gritted his teeth and lifted, feeling his back protest. He staggered toward the maintenance hatch, using his shoulder to push it open. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Daniel had to move sideways to fit through while carrying the Draconid. His arms burned with effort. Sweat ran down his face behind the breather mask. But he kept going, step by careful step, deeper into the forgotten spaces of the station. Behind them, the disposal sector continued its automated work, crushing and processing waste like nothing had happened. Nobody would notice one cleaning cart abandoned for a few hours. Nobody would care. Daniel reached the old storage room and carefully lowered the Draconid to the floor. The creature's eyes had closed again. Its breathing remained shallow but steady. Daniel pulled out the medical supplies and got to work, knowing he had just made a choice that would change everything. 5 days passed in careful rhythm. Daniel worked his regular shifts, cleaned his assigned areas, and showed up on time like always. Nobody suspected anything. During breaks, he slipped into the maintenance tunnels with supplies hidden in his cleaning cart. Food, water, better medical equipment borrowed from the station's medical waste before it got incinerated, bandages that were technically expired but still sterile, pain medication that would have been thrown away anyway. The Draconid, who finally told Daniel his name was Wreath, healed slowly. The burns were the worst part. Draconid scales were supposed to be fireproof, but these burns went deep, down to the muscle. Someone had used serious heat on him, the kind of heat that only another Draconid could produce. Wreath did not talk much at first. He watched Daniel with suspicious eyes, like he expected a trap, like kindness was something dangerous. Daniel understood that feeling. He had felt it himself once back when he first arrived at the colony orphanage on Redstone. When you got hurt enough times, trust became impossible. So Daniel did not push. He just kept showing up, kept bringing food and clean water, kept changing bandages without asking questions. On the 3rd day, Wreath finally spoke more than 2 words. "Why are you doing this?" Daniel was cleaning one of the deeper cuts on Wreath's shoulder. He did not look up from his work. "Because you needed help. I am Draconid, you are human, we are not allies. You're also hurt and scared, that's enough for me." Wreath went quiet for a long time. Daniel finished wrapping the bandage and packed up his supplies. He was about to leave when Wreath spoke again. "My brothers did this." Daniel stopped at the entrance to the storage room. He turned back slowly. "Your own brothers." "I have 3 of them, all older, all stronger." Wreath's voice was flat, emotionless, like he was reporting facts instead of talking about family. In Draconid culture, flame color determines worth. Blue flames are the highest. White flames are sacred. My brothers all produce blue flames. I produce orange. Weak orange that barely lights a candle. Daniel came back and sat down against the wall facing Wreath. He pulled out 2 ration bars from his pocket and tossed one to the Draconid. "So they beat you up because your fire is the wrong color." They beat me up because I embarrassed the family. The Flame Court sent me to this academy to keep me away from important events. My brothers go here too. They make sure everyone knows I am worthless. Wreath unwrapped the ration bar slowly. Last week there was a tournament, combat trials. I lost in the first round. My eldest brother Varos found me afterward. He said I had humiliated our father in front of the other noble families. He said I needed to learn my place. So he and the others did this and threw you in the trash. They thought the compactor would finish the job, make it look like an accident. Wreath took a bite of the ration bar, chewing slowly. I was crawling toward the emergency shutoff when I passed out. Then you found me. Daniel ate his own ration bar, thinking about family, about what that word meant. His parents died in a mining accident when he was 8. The colony stuck him in an orphanage where the older kids stole your food and the adults did not care. He left as soon as he turned 16, took the first job he could find. Worked his way up to this cleaning position on the academy station. It was not much, but it was his. Nobody could take it away. Family is supposed to protect you, Daniel said quietly, not try to kill you. Draconid families are not like human families. We are about power and tradition. Weakness is not tolerated. Wreath looked at his clawed hands. I am weak. Therefore I deserve what happened. That's garbage. Wreath looked up sharply. Daniel met his eyes. You're not weak because you have orange flames instead of blue ones. You survived getting beaten half to death and thrown in a compactor. That takes strength. Real strength. The kind that matters. You do not understand Draconid culture. I understand that any culture that says you deserve to die because you're different is wrong. Daniel stood up and brushed crumbs off his pants. You know what humans are known for in the galaxy? Being weak. We are not as strong as Draconids, not as smart as the Cerebrals, not as fast as the Runners. We are just average at everything, but we are still here. We survived. We adapted. We found ways to be useful. And we did it without trying to kill each other for being imperfect. Wreath stared at him. Daniel grabbed his supply bag and headed for the door. Get some rest. Your ribs are still healing. I will bring dinner later. Daniel. He paused and looked back. Thank you. I do not understand why you are helping me, but thank you. Daniel shrugged. Maybe I see someone who got dealt a bad hand and deserves better. Maybe I am just stubborn. Either way, you are stuck with me until you heal up. Then we will figure out what comes next. He left before Wreath could respond. The maintenance tunnel was dark and quiet. Daniel made his way back to the disposal sector, retrieved his cleaning cart and finished his shift. His supervisor, a grumpy Centaurian named Drix, barely glanced at him when he clocked out. You look tired, human. Stop working so hard. The station will not give you extra pay for extra effort. Just trying to do a good job, Daniel said. Drix snorted and waved him away. Daniel headed to the worker dormitories, shared bathroom facilities and bunks stacked 3 high. His bunk was middle row, against the back wall. He climbed up and lay down, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere below him, in the forgotten spaces of the station, a Draconid prince who was supposed to be dead was learning that maybe he mattered after all. Daniel closed his eyes and smiled slightly. Tomorrow he would bring real food instead of just ration bars. Maybe some fruit from the market level. Wreath needed proper nutrition to heal. Planning for someone else's tomorrow felt good. It felt like purpose. Something Daniel had been missing for a long time. He fell asleep still thinking about it, unaware that things were about to get much more complicated. The market level smelled like 100 different worlds mixed together. Spices from the outer colonies, fresh produce grown in the station's hydroponics bay, cooked meat from vendors who served food Daniel could not pronounce. He navigated through the crowd with practiced ease, keeping his head down and his employee badge visible. Security did not bother workers as long as they looked like they belonged. Daniel stopped at a fruit vendor run by a Verdian, one of the plant-based species. The Verdian's leaves rustled as she arranged colorful fruits in neat rows. How much for the red ones? Daniel pointed at something that looked like an apple, but was probably not an apple. 2 credits each. Very sweet, good for health. The Verdian's voice sounded like wind through trees. Daniel bought 4 of them, plus some yellow fruits that the vendor promised were high in nutrients. He tucked them into his work bag and continued through the market. He needed protein too. Wreath was carnivorous like most draconids. The ration bars were not enough. He found a stall selling dried meats. The owner, a human woman named Lucia who worked in the station's laundry services, gave him a curious look when he bought twice his usual amount. Big appetite today, Daniel. Just stocking up. Never know when supplies might run short. Lucia was not stupid. She had been working on the station longer than Daniel. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not ask more questions. She just bagged his purchase and took his credits. Be careful, she said quietly as she handed him the bag. Whatever you are doing. Daniel nodded and left quickly. On his way back to the maintenance tunnels, he grabbed medical supplies from his usual source, a sympathetic medic who looked the other way when certain items went missing from the disposal bins. Wreath was awake when Daniel arrived. The Draconid was sitting up, his back against the wall. The broken wing was healing but still hung awkwardly. That would take time, maybe months. Daniel set down his bag and pulled out the fresh food. What is this? Wreath stared at the red fruit. Not sure exactly. The vendor said it was sweet and healthy. Try it. Wreath took the fruit carefully, his claws making small punctures in the skin. He bit into it and his eyes widened. Juice ran down his chin. He ate the whole thing in 4 bites, then looked hopefully at the bag. There are 3 more. Pace yourself. Daniel tossed him the package of dried meat. This should be better for you than ration bars. They ate together in comfortable silence. Over the past week, this had become their routine. Daniel brought food, changed bandages, and they talked, sometimes about nothing important, sometimes about serious things. Wreath was smart, not book smart like the academy students, street smart, survival smart. He understood people and politics in ways that Daniel never would. I have been thinking about what you said, Wreath spoke up, about humans adapting, finding ways to be useful. Yeah. You work as a cleaner. The other species consider it beneath them, but you have access to every part of this station. You know the security schedules. You understand the systems. You can move through areas that would trigger alarms for someone like me. Wreath leaned forward. You turned a disadvantage into an advantage. That is adaptation. Daniel had never thought about it that way. He shrugged. I just needed a job. This one was available. But you learned from it. You used it. That is what humans do, right? You see opportunity where others see only limitations. I guess so. Daniel pulled out his data pad to check the time. His break was almost over. Why are you thinking about this? Because I need to adapt too. I cannot produce blue flames. I cannot compete with my brothers in traditional ways, but maybe there are other ways to be strong, ways that Draconid culture does not recognize. Wreath's amber eyes were intense. You are teaching me that, just by existing, by helping me when you had every reason not to. Daniel felt uncomfortable with the gratitude. He stood up and packed his empty food containers back into his bag. You are healing well. The burns are closing up. Another week and you should be able to move around better. And then what? That was the question Daniel had been avoiding. Wreath could not stay hidden forever. Eventually someone would find him, or his family would increase their search, or station security would do a thorough inspection of the maintenance areas. They needed a plan. I heard about a place, Daniel said slowly. Haven Point. It is a sanctuary station in neutral space, run by humans and some allied species. They take in refugees, people running from bad situations. No questions asked. You want to send me there. I want you to be safe, actually safe, not hiding in a storage room eating stolen food. Daniel met Wreath's eyes. You deserve better than this, better than what your family did to you, better than what I can provide." Reith was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. "How do we get there?" "That is the tricky part. Getting you off this station without being detected. Your family probably reported you missing by now. They might have alerts set up at all the docking bays. They want me dead, not found. They will not search too hard." "Maybe, but we should be careful anyway." Daniel pulled out his data pad and started making notes. "I know some of the cargo workers, humans who move supplies between ships. If we can get you into a cargo container heading to a neutral port, you could transfer to a ship going to Haven Point from there." "You have thought about this?" "I think about a lot of things during my shifts. Gives me something to do besides mop floors." Daniel saved his notes and looked back at Reith. "We have time. You need to heal more before we try anything, but we should start planning now." Reith flexed his claws, testing his range of motion. The injury still limited him, but he was improving every day. His amber eyes glowed faintly in the dim light of the storage room. "Daniel, when I get to Haven Point, I want you to come with me." "What?" "You do not belong here either. Working third shift, invisible to everyone. You could do more, be more. Haven Point needs people like you." Daniel shook his head. "I have a job here, responsibilities." "You have a job you took because you had no other choice. That is different from belonging." Reith stood up carefully, favoring his injured side. "Think about it. That is all I ask." Daniel left without answering, but Reith's words followed him through his shift. Maybe the Draconid was right. Maybe there was something better waiting, something more than being invisible and forgotten. But wanting something and reaching for it were two different things. Daniel had learned long ago not to hope for too much. Hope hurt when it got crushed. Everything changed on day 12. Daniel was finishing his shift in the upper corridors when Lucia caught him near the service elevators. Her face was tight with worry. "We need to talk, now, somewhere private." They ducked into a supply closet. Lucia pulled the door shut and spoke in a rushed whisper. "There is a Draconid asking questions. Big one, expensive clothes. He has been interviewing the cleaning staff all morning. Wants to know if anyone saw his missing brother. He has a picture." Daniel's stomach dropped. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I said I work in laundry, not disposal areas, but he is going to get to you eventually. He is talking to everyone." Lucia grabbed his arm. "Daniel, I do not know what you are involved in, but this Draconid is dangerous. I can see it in his eyes. Whatever you are doing, you need to stop now." "I cannot." "Why not?" Daniel ran a hand through his hair, thinking fast. Lucia had been kind to him since he started working here. She deserved honesty, at least some of it. "The missing Draconid is hurt, badly hurt. His own family did it to him. If I turn him over to this brother, they will finish the job." Lucia's eyes widened. "You are hiding him." "Yes." "Where?" "Better if you do not know." She stared at him for a long moment. Daniel expected her to yell at him, tell him he was crazy, report him to security. Instead, she took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, then we need to get you out of here before Varos finds you." "Varos?" "That is his name, Varos of the Flame Court. He is the one looking for his brother." Lucia pulled out her data pad and showed Daniel a schedule. "He has interviews blocked out for the next 6 hours. You are on the list for this afternoon, but if you call in sick, stay in the worker dorms. He cannot get to you there without proper clearance." Daniel shook his head. "That just delays things. He will find me eventually." "Then what are you going to do?" "I need to warn Reith. Then we need to move up our timeline." Daniel checked his own data pad. "There is a cargo ship leaving for the neutral port in 3 days. If we can get Reith onto it, he can disappear before Varos realizes what happened." 3 days is not enough time, not if Varos is actively searching. "It has to be enough." Daniel headed for the door, then paused. "Lucia, why are you helping me?" She smiled sadly. Because I have been working here for 8 years and nobody notices me either. I see the way the rich students look through us like we are furniture, and I am tired of pretending that is okay. If you are trying to save someone who got thrown away by people who should have protected them, then I am going to help. That is what we do. We take care of each other. Daniel felt something warm in his chest. Gratitude, hope. He was not alone in this. Thank you. Go warn your friend. I will cover for you if anyone asks. Daniel took the long way to the maintenance tunnels, checking behind him constantly. The station felt different now. Dangerous, like walls were closing in. He slipped through the access hatch and made his way to the storage room. Reith was practicing movement exercises when Daniel arrived. The Draconid could walk now without limping. His wings still hung wrong, but the rest of him had healed remarkably well. He looked up when Daniel entered and immediately sensed something was wrong. What happened? Your brother is here, Varos. He is interviewing the cleaning staff looking for you. Reith went very still. Varos came personally. You know him better than I do. Is that bad? It is very bad. Varos does not do anything personally unless it is important. If he is here, it means the family is worried about something. Probably worried about what I might say if I was found alive. Reith's claws extended unconsciously. He will kill me if he finds me. He will make it look like an accident and nobody will question it. Daniel pulled out his data pad. Then we move now. There is a cargo ship leaving in 3 days. I can get you aboard. From there you transfer to a ship heading to Haven Point. You will be safe. 3 days is a long time to hide from Varos. He is smart, patient. He will find me. Not if we stay ahead of him. Daniel started making notes. I know the cargo workers, humans who owe me favors. They can smuggle you onto the ship, but you need to stay absolutely hidden until then. No leaving this room, no making noise, nothing that could give away your position. Reith nodded slowly. What about you? If Varos questions you and you lie, he will know. Draconids can read body language better than most species. He will see through you. That was a problem Daniel had not considered. Varos would interview him eventually, and Daniel was a terrible liar. His face always gave him away. Then I will tell him the truth, that I found a Draconid in the disposal sector and assumed it was dead, that I reported it to sanitation and they handled the cleanup. He cannot prove otherwise. He will threaten you. Let him, I am just a cleaner. What can he do to me? Reith moved closer, his amber eyes intense. He can hurt you. He can have you fired. He can make you disappear. Varos does not care about rules or laws. He cares about protecting the family reputation. And right now, you are a threat to that reputation. Daniel met his gaze steadily. I have been invisible my whole life. One more person thinking I am worthless will not change anything. But you have a chance to actually live, to be free. I am not going to let your psycho brother take that away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Reith did something unexpected. He placed his clawed hand on Daniel's shoulder. It was a Draconid gesture of respect, of acknowledgement between equals. You are not invisible to me. You are the first person who ever saw me as something other than a failure. I will not forget that. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He cleared it roughly and stepped back. Save the gratitude for when you are actually safe. Right now we have work to do. I need to contact the cargo workers and set up the smuggling route. You need to stay quiet and heal. 3 days. We just need to survive 3 more days. Reith nodded. Daniel left the storage room and made his way back to the surface levels, his mind racing with plans and possibilities. Somewhere on the station, Varos was hunting, and Daniel had just 3 days to stay one step ahead of a predator who never failed to catch his prey. The interview happened on day 13. Daniel reported to the security office like he was told. Varos sat behind a borrowed desk, looking completely out of place in the small room meant for station personnel. He was huge, even for a draconid, nearly 9 feet tall with deep crimson scales that looked almost purple in certain light. His eyes were golden, not amber like wreaths, cold and calculating. "Sit," Varros gestured to the chair across from him. Daniel sat. He kept his hands relaxed, his breathing steady. He had practiced this. Just tell the simple story and do not elaborate. "You are Daniel Ross. You work third shift cleaning services, correct?" "Yes, sir." "Your duties include the waste disposal sector." "Yes, sir." Varros leaned forward slightly. "Have you seen any draconids in that area, perhaps injured or unconscious?" "I found one about 2 weeks ago, in the compactor zone. It looked dead. I reported it to my supervisor, who contacted sanitation services. They handled the removal." "You reported a dead draconid?" "Yes, sir. I did not touch it. That is protocol. We are supposed to report any biological matter immediately." Varros studied him carefully. Daniel met his eyes and kept his expression neutral. He was just a worker doing his job, nothing more. "This draconid you found, describe it." "Dark scales, smaller than you, maybe 6 feet tall. It was face down, so I could not see much else." "And you are certain it was dead?" "I am not a medical professional, sir, but it was not moving and there was a lot of blood. Blue blood." Daniel paused. "Is this about your missing brother? I heard you were looking for someone." Varros's eyes narrowed. "What do you know about my brother?" "Only what the other workers are saying, that you are searching for him. I hope you find him, sir." The lie came easier than Daniel expected, maybe because it was wrapped in enough truth to sound believable. He had found Wreath. He had seen the blood. The rest was just interpretation. Varro stood up suddenly. He moved around the desk until he was looming over Daniel. Intimidation tactic. Daniel had seen it before. He stayed seated, kept his hands on his knees, and looked up calmly. "I think you are lying, human." "Why would I lie about finding a body in the trash?" "Because my brother is not dead. If he were dead, we would have found remains. Sanitation services have no record of processing draconid biological matter in the past month." Varros leaned down until his face was inches from Daniel's. "So either you are mistaken about what you saw, or you are hiding something." Daniel's heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. "Maybe sanitation made a mistake with their records, or maybe I was wrong about what I saw. Like I said, I am not a medical professional. I just clean floors." "You just clean floors," Varros repeated mockingly. "And yet you have worked here for 3 years. You have access to areas most people never see. You understand this station better than some of the officers." His golden eyes glittered dangerously. "I think you are smarter than you pretend to be." "I just do my job, sir." Varros straightened up and walked back to the desk. He pulled something from his pocket and tossed it onto the table in front of Daniel. It was a data chip. "That contains surveillance footage from the disposal sector, 12 days ago. Someone disabled the cameras for exactly 43 minutes. Then they came back online. Curious timing, do you not think?" Daniel looked at the chip but did not touch it. "Cameras malfunction all the time down there. The equipment is old." "But they all malfunctioned at exactly the same time, and came back online at exactly the same time." Varros smiled, showing sharp teeth. "I am not stupid, human. Someone helped my brother. Someone with access to station systems. Someone who knows how to move through this place without being noticed. If you think I did something wrong, report me to security. Let them investigate." "Security?" Varros laughed. "Security works for the people who pay them, and the Flame Court pays very well. No, I do not need security. I need you to tell me where my brother is." Daniel stood up. "I already told you everything I know. If that is not good enough, then we are done here." He turned toward the door. Varros moved faster than anything that large should be able to move. His hand clamped down on Daniel's shoulder, claws digging through his uniform into skin. Daniel gasped in pain but did not cry out. "We are done when I say we are done." Varros's breath was hot against Daniel's ear. "I can make your life very difficult. I can have you fired, deported. I can make sure you never work anywhere in civilized space again. All I have to do is make one communication to the right people." "Then do it," Daniel spoke through gritted teeth, "but I still cannot tell you what I do not know." Varros held him for another moment, then released him roughly. Daniel stumbled forward and caught himself against the wall. He turned back to face the Draconid, rubbing his shoulder where the claws had pierced his skin. Blood seeped through his uniform. "Get out," Varros said coldly. "But know this, human, I will find my brother, and when I do I will remember everyone who helped him. I will remember you." Daniel left without another word. His hands were shaking by the time he reached the hallway. That had been close, too close. Varros suspected him but could not prove anything. Not yet. He made his way back to the worker dorms and cleaned his shoulder wound in the shared bathroom. 4 puncture marks, deep but not dangerous. They would heal. He changed into a fresh uniform and checked his data pad. Messages from the cargo workers. Everything was set for tomorrow night. The ship would depart at midnight. They just had to get Wreath aboard without being caught. One more day. They just needed one more day. Daniel was heading back to his bunk when Lucia found him again. Her face was pale. "Varros went to security. He filed a formal complaint about you, said you were acting suspicious and should be investigated." "Can they do anything?" "They are going to search the disposal sector tomorrow morning. Full sweep. And they are requiring all maintenance workers to be present during the search." Daniel's stomach dropped. If security searched the maintenance tunnels, they would find Wreath. And if they found Wreath while Daniel was required to be present for the search, there would be no way to claim he did not know about it. "We have to move tonight," Daniel said. "Right now, before the search happens. The cargo ship does not leave until tomorrow." "Then we find another way." Daniel pulled out his data pad and started scrolling through ship schedules. "There has to be something. Anything leaving tonight." Lucia looked over his shoulder at the screen. "There. Passenger liner headed to the outer colonies. It stops at the neutral port on the way, but passengers need proper identification and tickets. Your friend has neither." Daniel thought fast. "What about cargo? Do passenger liners carry cargo?" "Usually, but it goes through the same security screening as everything else." "Not if it is diplomatic cargo. That gets loaded separately, no inspections." Lucia stared at him. "You cannot be serious. You want to smuggle him out as diplomatic cargo. Where are you going to get diplomatic credentials?" Daniel smiled grimly. "I am not going to get them. Wreath is. He is still technically a prince of the Flame Court. His family never formally disowned him. If he claims diplomatic privilege, who is going to question it? His brother, who is on the station right now specifically looking for him." "Then we do it fast, before Varros realizes what is happening." Daniel stood up. "I need you to help me get the forms. Can you do that?" Lucia hesitated for only a second. Then she nodded. "I know someone in administrative services. She owes me a favor. I can get blank diplomatic shipping forms." "Good. Meet me at the lower cargo bay in 2 hours. Bring the forms and anything else that looks official." Daniel did not wait for her response. He was already running, heading for the maintenance tunnels and the hidden storage room where Wreath waited. Time had just run out. Now they had to gamble everything on one desperate plan, and hope that a discarded prince still had enough authority to save himself. The cargo bay hummed with activity. Workers loaded containers onto automated sleds. Passengers walked through the boarding corridor toward the liner. Security checked documents at every checkpoint. Daniel stood in the shadows near the diplomatic cargo entrance with Wreath beside him, both of them watching the chaos. Wreath wore a borrowed maintenance uniform with the hood pulled up to hide his scales. It would not fool anyone up close, but from a distance He looked like just another worker. Lucia arrived carrying a tablet and a stack of official-looking documents. I have the forms, but Daniel, this is crazy. If they scan his identification and it comes back as the missing prince, security will lock down the entire bay. They will not scan it. Reith spoke quietly, his voice steady despite the danger. Diplomatic cargo from the Flame Court is exempt from standard security protocols. It is part of our treaty with the Galactic Council. They can visually inspect the documents but cannot run electronic verification unless they want to start a diplomatic incident. You sound very sure of that. I spent my whole life learning protocol I would never use. Turns out it was good for something after all. Reith looked at Daniel. Are you certain about this? Once we start, there is no going back. Daniel met his amber eyes. I am certain, let us move. They walked toward the diplomatic entrance. The security officer there was a Centaurian, the same species as Daniel's supervisor. He looked bored until he saw them approaching. His expression shifted to attention when Reith lowered his hood, revealing his scaled face. Diplomatic cargo shipment, Reith announced in a formal tone Daniel had never heard him use before. Flame Court business. I require immediate processing. The officer straightened up. I need to see your credentials. Reith handed over the documents Lucia had prepared. His real identification card, which listed him as fourth prince of the Flame Court. Diplomatic shipping forms filled out in perfect formal script. A cargo manifest claiming he was transporting sealed artifacts back to the Flame Court homeworld. The officer reviewed everything carefully. His eyes lingered on Reith's face, then on the identification. Something did not match. Maybe the injuries that were still healing. Maybe the fear that Reith could not completely hide. The officer opened his mouth to ask a question. That was when Varos's voice boomed across the cargo bay. Stop that Draconid, he is a fugitive. Everything happened fast. Reith grabbed Daniel's arm. The security officer reached for his communication device. Lucia stepped between them and the officer, blocking his view. Other workers, all humans, suddenly moved to create obstacles in the path behind them, creating chaos, buying seconds. Run, Lucia shouted. Reith pulled Daniel through the diplomatic entrance. The corridor beyond led directly to the ship's cargo hold. No checkpoints, no additional security. That was the whole point of diplomatic access. Daniel could hear shouting behind them. Varos was coming. Security was responding. They had maybe a minute. They burst into the cargo hold. A human crew member was securing containers. He looked up in surprise as they entered. Help us, Daniel gasped. Please, we need to hide him. The crew member looked at Reith, then back toward the corridor where alarm klaxons were starting to sound. He made a decision in half a second. Diplomatic Container 7, get in, do not make a sound. They ran to the indicated container. It was large enough for Reith to curl up inside with his wings folded. Daniel started to close the lid, but Reith grabbed his hand. Come with me, there is room for both of us. I cannot. If I disappear, they will know I helped you. This only works if I stay behind and claim I was forced to bring you here. Daniel. Go get a haven point, be free. That is all I want. Daniel squeezed Reith's clawed hand once, then pulled away and slammed the container shut. He locked it just as Varos crashed through the entrance. The Draconid prince was surrounded by security officers. His golden eyes found Daniel immediately. Rage twisted his features. Where is he? Daniel backed away, hands raised. I do not know what you're talking about. Varos crossed the cargo hold in 3 massive strides. He grabbed Daniel by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Daniel choked, clawing at the scaled hand crushing his windpipe. I know you helped him. Tell me where he is. Sir, release the human immediately. The cargo hold supervisor arrived with more security. This is a registered passenger vessel. You cannot assault crew or passengers. This human is harboring a fugitive. Then file charges through proper channels. But right now, release him or I will have you removed from my ship." For a long moment, Varos held Daniel suspended. Then he dropped him. Daniel collapsed, gasping for air. Varos turned to the security officers. "Search every container, every compartment. My brother is on this ship and I want him found." The ship supervisor stepped forward. "Actually, you cannot do that. Containers marked with diplomatic seals cannot be searched without authorization from their respective governments. It is Galactic Council law. If you want to search them, you need to file the proper requests. That process takes approximately 72 hours. Varos looked like he wanted to burn something. "This is unacceptable. This is the law. Now I am going to have to ask you and your security team to disembark. We depart in 10 minutes. The standoff lasted another few seconds. Then Varos turned and stormed out, taking the security team with him. Daniel slowly stood up, rubbing his bruised throat. The supervisor looked at him with knowing eyes. "You have 8 minutes to get off my ship before we launch. I suggest you use them." Daniel nodded his thanks and limped toward the exit. As he passed Container 7, he touched it briefly. "Goodbye. Be safe." Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd of workers as the ship prepared for departure. Later, Daniel sat in the worker dorms with an ice pack on his neck. Lucia sat beside him, equally bruised from being shoved by security. Through the viewport, they watched the passenger liner detach from the station and begin its slow acceleration toward the outer colonies, toward the neutral port, toward freedom. "Do you think he will make it?" Lucia asked quietly. "I think he has a better chance out there than he ever had here." 3 weeks later, Daniel received a message on his personal data pad. It came through an encrypted channel, routed through a dozen relay stations to hide its origin. The message was short. "I made it to Haven Point. They accepted me. I am learning to use my flames in new ways, teaching other refugees what you taught me, that there are different kinds of strength. Thank you for seeing me when everyone else looked away. If you ever change your mind about coming here, there is a place for you, a home. You gave me mine. Let me return the favor. R." Daniel read the message 3 times. Then he looked around the worker dorms, the cramped bunks, the shared facilities, the invisible life he had built here. Lucia caught him staring at his data pad. "Good news." "Maybe, yeah, I think so." She smiled. "You are thinking about leaving." "Would that be crazy?" "Only if you are happy here, are you?" Daniel thought about Wreath, somewhere in neutral space, building a new life. He thought about Haven Point, a place where being different was acceptable, where the forgotten could become important, where a cleaning worker might actually matter. "No," he said finally, "I'm not happy here, but I could be happy somewhere else." Lucia patted his shoulder. "Then go, find your somewhere else. Some of us are meant to stay, some of us are meant to leave. I think you are the second kind." 2 months later, Daniel boarded a transport heading for neutral space. His belongings fit in a single bag. He had no job waiting for him, no guarantee of anything, just a message from a friend and a hope that maybe, finally, he had found a place where he could be seen. The transport pulled away from the Academy station. Daniel watched it shrink in the viewport until it was just another point of light among the stars. Then he turned away and looked forward, toward whatever came next, toward Haven Point, toward home.